Welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk about the new cover for the Walking Dead comic, issue 161. Now this is part 5 of the Whisperer War. In a second we're going to take a look at the other covers leading up to this one, but I just want to take a look at this new cover. First off, we're getting this in December, and I just want to point out that it's going to be pretty cool getting the very last part of the Whisperer War in January of 2017. I know we get these covers in advance, a little sneak peek of what's ahead, because the covers are kind of like what a trailer or a teaser trailer is to a movie or TV show. All the comic gets to show is basically a cover and maybe a few panels from inside the story as previews, you know? But I think this is cool that we're finishing the Whisperer War next year, the very first month of next year, and the world of The Walking Dead as we know it might change drastically. And this cover kind of hints that. Now, what's disappointing that we get previews on the covers is what we see on this 161, and that is what seems like the destruction of the hilltop. Now, at first I thought this was kind of an odd image because the Whisperers, they're basically attacking with walkers and knives, you know what I mean? So that doesn't scream burning down the mansion at the hilltop. This could also be symbolism. The mansion might not burn down. I mean, chances are it's going to. I think that would be too much setup, and it would be a little underwhelming if it didn't burn down. I'm a little bit torn. So if the hilltop's destruction and the manor at the hilltop burning down, if that is the big event and it was shown on the cover, that is extremely underwhelming, which makes me afraid because that's not what they're going to do. They're not going to put the biggest twist on the cover, which is the destruction of the hilltop, which leads me to worry about Maggie or Andrea or somebody else big, because they're going to end somebody big. You know, a couple small players might die. We might see Dante die, which I still feel like that's a little too early. I think they should develop this between Maggie and Dante, but they could have been developing it for it to, end tragically during the Whisperer War, which I feel like that's too early. But with this image, it's leading me to believe that something very tragic might happen to Maggie Green. And I hope not, because she's the last remaining survivor of her family and of her little unit there, you know, unless her child dies. And if her child doesn't die, then ironically enough, her child will become an orphan for somebody else in the group to take. Very similar to the way that Maggie took Sophia, you know, as an adopted child. But let's get past all the doom and gloom. I do want to say this is a cool cover. I do love this image, though. You have the manor burning, and you have people running for their lives. Now, I love how there's no walkers, there's no whisperers, there's no fighting. It doesn't allude to that. It just has people running away from a burning society, a burning community. And I love that symbolism, because anything could really happen, and they could twist this cover around to be symbolism. But I think at the very least, the hilltop is done for, or at least one of the communities is definitely done for, if not multiple communities, which also lets us know that this war is going to be bigger than we imagined from the first two parts of the Whisperer War, because at the second part of the Whisperer War, it really felt like the war was almost concluding. We have the face of the Whisperers, which is Beta, since Alpha's dead, and he is in a tight spot right now. And another thing we need to look at is the buildup started happening way before part 1 of the Whisperer War, so the aftermath is definitely going to come after, you know, part 6 of the Whisperer War. So basically, they are giving us a 16-panel grid. We're getting a lot of story, plus we're getting the meat of the war story in these 6 parts, which means the aftermath will clearly spill over past the Whisperer War. So I think there's a lot of story coming for this war and the aftermath. Now, Eugene's on the cover here. I've seen a couple people commenting that they thought this was Beta unmasked. It doesn't look like Beta at all, in my opinion. This looks a little chubbier than what Beta is portrayed on part 3 of the Whisperer War, and this definitely looks like Eugene, in my opinion. I just gotta say that. But he does have like a mean mug on him, so it's like, what is Eugene's problem? Yeah, Yeah, Eugene seems pissed. And we're going to take a quick look at the covers now, and I promise we'll be quick. We got Alpha on the cover, and we have the residents of Alexandria looking like, oh shit. And you know, we might still see this happen in the story, because the war has not reached the gates of Alexandria yet. Not the main assault of the Whisperers and the Whisperer army. And then we have a really pissed off and angry Rick Grimes, which that can represent his meeting with Negan, or it can also represent a part of the story that we haven't seen yet, which is an interesting idea. Next, for part 2, we have Michonne screaming as she's going into battle. This is similar to what we get in the issue, except for she's on a horse and she has an assault rifle, not her katana. Now, Negan seems like he's taunting the survivors on the cover, but in reality he's basically taunting the Whisperers, not like he is on the cover, but he's standing behind the guys on the front lines as they're shooting the guns, and he's waiting for a gun to open up, and then the Whisperers are charging. So on the cover it looks like he's standing in front of the charging army, but in the battle they're actually charging towards him. Now we have part 3 of the Whisperer Wars, and we have Beta and then Dwight down here with his army. Now we know that nothing like this is happening, but there is a fight. The army is currently fighting the Whisperers and the Walkers right now. They're currently shooting their guns lined up in different positions, and Dwight is technically fighting Beta. I mean, Negan and Beta are face-to-face fighting right now, and Negan saved Dwight from getting attacked by Beta, so there's kind of like that three-way fight that is going to pop off as soon as this issue starts, which I feel like it needs to be interrupted because somebody's gonna die. Either someone dies, you know, Negan loses this fight and lives and gets away, or this fight gets interrupted, because I just feel like you can't kill Beta right now. You just can't do it. He's the face of the Whisperers, you know? Moving on to part 4, you have Lydia holding up maybe her own mask or her mother's mask, somebody's mask. I feel like this is symbolism. I don't think she has any right to stick up for the Whisperers or take up sides for the Whisperers at all. I just don't see it at all. And they're clearly making weapons at the hilltop, and then Carl looks pretty pissed here. Now, since issue 161 shows the hilltop burning, I do believe the hilltop will be attacked in issue 160, because we've seen that Negan, Beta, and Dwight had their little scuffle start in issue 158, and in the next issue 159 we get Beta and Dwight on the cover. Now, it's a small thing, but they do that often in the world of The Walking Dead, where, you know, some shit will happen in one issue and on the very next issue something similar is represented on the cover, which, if the hilltop is being attacked, it leads us to worry a lot for characters like Carl, for Maggie, for Dante, for Lydia. These 4 mainly, unless I'm missing anyone else who happens to be at the hilltop right now. Aaron is wounded, I believe he's at the hilltop right now. So there's some of these main characters that might actually take a beating if the hilltop's attacked and destroyed, essentially. And that leads us to wonder, is Alexandria already being attacked? Or will the hilltop be attacked, and then the army at Alexandria will have to shift and go to the hilltop to give them aid and to fight back? Now, there's a lot of things going on with the sanctuary, with the kingdom. The kingdom is there currently on the battlefield, but how many different pieces did the Whisperer army break up into? Are they just attacking Alexandria and the hilltop, or is there another group somewhere out there that we don't know about? Now, I think since we have Negan, Beta, and Dwight face to face on the battlefield, and it looks like the Whisperers are taking somewhat of a beating, even though the survivors are really worried at this point in the story. But I do feel like there is another group of Whisperers slash Walkers that is currently flanking the entire battlefield, or maybe currently flanking behind them, around them, something, and it will drive off the soldiers. It's just a thought, because at this point it's like they're all just currently going to kill each other further unless we get something that changes and shifts the war in a different direction. You know what I mean? Anyway, this is a very awesome cover, and with the covers we like to kind of shoot the shit a little bit and do some predictions. So that's a couple loose predictions. I'm going to think about it a little bit better and hit you guys off with a proper prediction video for the comic. And now it's your turn to leave your thoughts and opinions on this glorious cover down in that comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn.
Subscribe now.